Sure.
So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are, and welcome to another interview of The Shield Doing the Couch. Tonight, I'm joined by Lee Daniel. He's a solo artist here, residing in Miami, and he just put out an EP called Lee Daniel 2 that he put out on October 14th with 5 songs, and we're gonna talk about it. So, Lee, how are you?
Everything is fantastic. I'm feeling great. Finally released this EP, so I'm feeling very good. I feel very good. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, I was listening to the EP. Actually, I was listening to it today, and there's a lot of like. I think I would recommend this to people who like classic rock, like the Bob Segers and that type of like singer songwriter type of rock and roll old style. I got a lot of vibes from that. So Lee, on this EP, there's every song there's like some different vibes on it. So for you as a musician, uh growing up, what were your main influences?
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that because the EP is, and it wasn't planned to be that way. That every song has its own flavor, but you can almost like pick through every influence through there, everywhere from Motorhead to Tom Petty and everything in between. One of my earliest influences is Queen. There's not a lot of that evident in the EP, but that was one of the first things that really got me into music as a young child, and the Police. And then growing up a little older into Black Sabbath, Guns N' Roses, of course. AC/DC has been a huge driving force in my life. Nirvana, Alice in Chains, all the regulars. And I think like all those influences are pretty evident in the music that comes out with that flavor too that you mentioned of Bob Seger and all that. I had classic radio on since I was 4, even if it wasn't my choice. So I had like rock radio. At that point it was rock. It wasn't even classic rock. But yeah,
Yes,
no,
no,
it's
yeah,
so yeah,
sometimes
that's
I feel old when people talk about the 90s as the oldies.
well, I mean, it hits you as we grow older and you listen to classic rock, what we thought of as Bob Seger or whatever, and they start playing Nirvana and Alice in Chains. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, the Pearl Jams and all of that is like classic rock. Yeah, I was the other day I was interviewing this band from Germany, and the singer's like 22 years old, and he was talking about my father's generation, and I asked him, he's like, oh yeah, 75, 77, so oh, like my age. And he's like, oh, and I listened to their oldies. So he said anything that is before 2000 was considered an oldie.
That's
Which,
that's where we're at. I mean, for me growing up, oldies was like Hard Day's Night era. Beatles was like oldies for me. Like now
the
that's
Beach
ancient. That's
Boys.
like the Beach. Yeah, exactly. Early Stones, that kind of Elvis, Little Richard, that kind of thing. Like now, no, it's Nirvana.
So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the EP and different songs. So I like the first song that starts the EP, Crossing Callings. What is Crossing Callings? Because I was trying to interpret the lyrics. What is that song about?
Well, Crossing Collins used to be the term that we had. I used to live in South Beach years and years ago. And when we would be out all night, we'd like to see the sun rise on the beach. So that ended up being the term. Like, oh, did you cross Collins last night? Were you crossing Collins? So when you're crossing Collins, you're out until the sun came up. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
kind of, yeah, that's all that is really. And it just touches back to a time where things were a lot crazier. I ran with a crazy crowd. I lived a little more quote unquote wild than I do now at 42 years old. I've calmed down a little bit, not completely, but a little bit. But
Were
that was
you
Crossing
like,
Collins.
were you living on the edge like Aerosmith?
Yeah, maybe on the other side a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
nice. So there's 5 songs. There's Let It Bleed, Empty Hollow, No Man's Land, and Leroy Kincaid. Empty Hollow, I think, is the other single you released, right?
Empty Hollow was the second single, and it's had a lot of response, especially in Europe. A lot of people have been listening. It almost took me by surprise that that was the one that people gravitated the most towards. But I understand it's more like ballady maybe. But I think it's pretty abstract, but it just touches on loss and that feeling of hopelessness and not knowing how to move forward when somebody that's close to you either leaves or is no longer, present or whatnot. Very abstract again. It touches on personal emotions, but it's not like a story that's word for word or experienced, completely by me. Anybody can touch it, so I guess that's why people might be gravitating towards it.
Yeah, no, I think people can gravitate to loss after the years that we had. So maybe that's why people have latched onto it.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, are you on a boat?
Not right now. Right now I'm in my truck, but I'm on a boat a lot of the
Oh yeah,
time.
but
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if that's a boat.
No, I hopped in my truck because I have terrible reception in the building that I'm living in right now. So I'm in my truck, but that's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, I was a professional captain for, well, first a mate and then a captain for 20 years.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so, those days are behind me now. I don't do as much of that or any of that anymore. But yeah, I do frequent boats. Actually, I was living on a boat in Key West up until a month ago. So
Nice. I'm sure that helps with inspiring to write the tunes. So this EP, how long did it take you to write the EP, and what was the process in the writing of the EP?
the writing, honestly, I've been bouncing these ideas around for probably the better part of 3 years. I had a previous release in 2000, I want to say 18. Yeah, like this time, 2018. Um, but even as I finalized that, a lot of the ideas that came to life on Lee Daniel 2 were kind of already starting to brew. And then when I finally committed right after COVID kind of subsided a little bit for the first time, the ideas came together quickly as far as actual writing and polishing all the songs. The ideas came quickly, but the recording process took a little longer just due to budgeting and travel. I recorded everything in Tampa, actually in Clearwater at All Access Studios. So it's the first time that I went into, I mean, I've recorded at good studios before, but this studio is exceptional with a very good producer and a very good recording team, engineers, etc. So yeah, it came together quickly in the writing process, but the actual performance at the studio took quite a while.
Nice. And I know it's a solo material, but you have your band. I saw pictures of the band, and I know you had like a show. I think you had like an EP release show. How did that go?
It went great. The advantage that you have doing what I do as a solo artist is that you can use a lot of different musicians and you can borrow some really good musicians from other bands, which I've been, very, very fortunate to be able to do. The EP release party went fantastic. It couldn't have gone better. It was a very stripped down acoustic rendering of what I do or what the music is normally on recorded media. It felt great. It felt really, really good to just sit in front of a small crowd with an acoustic and one other guitar player and just play the material. The reception was fantastic. We had a great time. The after party was fabulous. I didn't get in until about 6 minutes. So I was crossing Collins that night.
You're true to the song. You stayed up
Absolutely,
late.
100%.
But you're 42, I'm 45. Let's be honest. When you stay up all night, don't you need like 3 days rest afterward?
Oh yeah. So yeah. That's funny you mentioned that. So yes, absolutely. No longer 25 or 20 or whatever. With EP release, I had people that came in from New York, from St. Augustine, from Jacksonville, from other places. So I had to do that 2 nights. So I'm still recovering right now. So kids, don't do this after 40. Like, I don't recommend.
Yeah, no, it's tough, like you have one and you're like, oh my, like you can't recover like you used to.
Not only
Uh
that, it's a lot of mental and even emotional too. Like you're on
yeah.
such a different level now as an adult or such a mature adult that
Yeah, I don't know
just
if it happens to you, but sometimes like when people's like, oh, let's go out, let's go to eat, and they say, let's meet at 9 p.m. I'm like, 9 p.m. I'm like, that's late. And they're like, no, that's early. No, that's late.
Yeah, no, that's Netflix time, man. Like 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah. It,
like what's wrong with 6:30?
yeah. And like maybe one drink and let me go. That's the problem with me. Like a lot of people enjoy like drinking with me because I have that past, you know. And it's something that I've had to work on. Really, you have to be able to say no because people love to party and have fun, and I like that too. But I can't do that all the time anymore. I don't even
No,
really enjoy it that much, you know.
I bet. Out of the 5 songs, which one is your favorite and which one was the hardest to write?
My favorite, I think, is I like Empty Hollow a lot. A lot. I like the subject matter. It's pretty much a take on how social media is just kind of taken over the world and everybody's a slave to it, including myself, you know. It came together easy. It gives me like really strong Kiss vibes, like which is great, you know. So that
Don't
came
tell that
together.
to Gene Simmons or he sue you.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll keep that quiet. You'll bleep that out, you know.
Yeah, no.
um, the most difficult to record, believe it or not, was Leroy Kincaid. Um, Musically, it came together pretty quickly, but the vocal was really difficult. And honestly, I'm not even really satisfied with what the final result is. But that was the best out of a lot of effort. There was just a difficulty in trying to convey what I wanted on there. I got as close as I could without just giving up completely, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult to pull that song together, and I knew that it had a lot of potential because I love the subject matter and like I like the written music. I think it sounds fantastic.
What's that one
That
about, Leroy Kincaid?
Leroy Kincaid. So I'm a huge ACDC fan. Just an enormous ACDC fan. And there's a B track from the '70s, from the Bon Scott era, called "Cold Hearted Man," which also appears on the Iron Man soundtrack, which is a deep cut. But the song basically talks about a man named Leroy Kincaid, who just I guess he's kind of like a parentless, soulless kind of guy. Just does whatever he wants. People are afraid of him. So I've kind of adopted that almost like an alter ego in a little way. So Leroy Kincaid is almost an alter ego of mine. To not sound so like self-centered or conceited or anything, but it's part of my psyche or part of who I am that can sometimes be that way. So it's kind of elaborating on that, about just that wild man that maybe we all have in us, you know. Maybe we don't let that guy out a lot, but he lives in all of us, you know.
Not after 40.
He's still in there somewhere, but
He's
hidden,
still in
hidden.
there somewhere. He's like, let me out, let me
Yeah,
out. I want to
oh,
party.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much what that's about. Um, and the fact that 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 facet of our personality is always there somewhere, and like there is a key to open that. We keep it closed, but it can be accessed in the right situation, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's very understandable. Like I think everyone has like they can have a good side, but deep down they can have like an alter ego, like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but just don't
Yeah,
let it take over your life because usually that
right.
means bad decisions.
Terrible decisions, you know, and depending on the individual, some of us step in, you know what, more than others and get into dumb things and make poor decisions. And that's always there though, you know. We know the buttons that we should avoid, you know.
Yeah. So I want to show here so people, I know that this is only digital, but people can buy it digital. And here's the
Sure.
Bandcamp for Lee Daniel 2. And here's the album, the EP cover. Uh, you're there contemplating. I'm looking at the album cover. You're contemplating all you did the night before, right?
Pretty much. That was taken in Bogota. So yeah, that actually was a big night before. That was taken with a no-name media team in Bogota, Colombia. Yeah,
Nice.
we had a big night before that.
And you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have drank all those beers.
That, what am I doing with my life? I can't believe how expensive this Gibson Explorer was.
Or maybe you're thinking like, do not drop it, do not drop it.
That's part of it too. Yeah. and it's raining there too. You can't tell, but it's raining during that photo
Oh,
shoot. So yeah, perfect, man.
oh, was it cold?
It was cold. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it was cold, raining,
well,
and there
but
was a lot of people around. Like you can't see
yeah,
it there, but there was a ton of people, and everybody was looking at us like we're crazy. Of course,
everything for the love of the arts, you know. So yeah,
that's
so
what it is.
if people want to support this, you know, you can get it, you can buy it for $7 electronically and have it. And I see that it was produced by Jason Tyler, engineered by Doug Johnston. So yeah, no, I think it's awesome. And it's, you know, like I said, it's got that classic rock feel that I think like what now kids would tell us, like I hate it when I have an and they're like, oh, that's dad rock. I'm like, fuck you.
Okay. Oh, so we can curse. Okay, I've been watching my mouth.
No,
Yeah.
you can curse here, all like we can curse here in the shield, dude.
Okay. Perfect. 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 So yeah. Yeah. First of all, fuck you to dad rock or whoever just uses that term. So to me, dad rock is like Cutting Crew or something like that. And even that's good. Like fuck you. Like Cutting Crew's awesome. Like,
Everything I think like there's young that's so like so if everyone's at that, then everything eventually will be dad rock.
yeah, exactly. Well, people don't realize as we didn't either when we were 18. Like
And like,
if you're lucky, you turn 40 one day. If you're lucky, not everybody has that luxury, or 50 or
yeah.
60.
And like I tell like young people, like, you know what, that rock is awesome. Listen to Pink Floyd. I just saw Roger Waters. He played here in Miami like a month ago, and the dude's 70 something. And it was a great, I don't know if you were at that show, but my God, it was an amazing
No, I
concert.
wasn't.
Oh,
There
amazing,
there
amazing concert.
there's a reason those musicians are as successful as they are because they're fucking amazing. Like
Yeah.
I don't care what age you are. That's amazing music. So you're gonna compare that to like Bad Bunny or one of these idiots? Like, come on. I mean, not to badmouth anybody, but come on, really? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, but I actually have to admit there's a Bad Bunny song that has stayed in my brain. And I'm like, oh my God, because it's infectious. Like uh I'm like, get out. But yeah, it can
Oh
happen.
well, yeah. It's obvious that that's what it's designed to do. But maybe I need to interview you next time. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we can talk all about it. So so Lee, I usually there's a question I ask in a few of my interviews that it's about like albums that you would take to a desert island. Like, what would be your top three albums like that you would take with you that you can listen to forever and never be like, fuck this, I don't want to listen to this ever again.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Paranoid, Black Sabbath, number one for sure. I would take uh I would take Ball Breaker by AC/DC, which is not the most popular album, but I fucking love every single track on that. I mean, just up and down. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing album.
Is that the one that came out like in 2000, right? The
That came
first
out in
album,
'96.
96. Yeah, yeah, that's the one with the ball. You know, ACDC has so much albums. Like,
Yeah, and they all sound sort of alike, but like they each have their own thing.
but you know
And
what?
Rick,
That's a band that should not change their sound. I'm like, I want ACDC to sound like ACDC. They're like, you can like they haven't strayed from their core sound, but they're still awesome. You know, it's just ACDC, you know?
it's absolutely amazing. It's an absolutely amazing, amazing body of work, and it changes a little bit, but the little changes that happen are welcome. They're really good,
Yeah. Actually,
And
the
just
last
the
one, Power
simplicity.
Up, was pretty good too.
It was pretty good. Witch's Spell is probably my favorite cut off of that album, and Money Shot. I think Money Shot's great, but they just do it every time, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. What can you say?
God
God
bless
bless.
them
Oh
for
yeah.
not being politically correct and no,
Oh God,
not
no,
bowing down
no,
to any wokeness. They're like, no,
no,
we're
no.
ACDC. We're gonna shook you up all night long. You know, don't change.
Don't change. No, absolutely. And we can all take a little bit from that. So I think that's a fantastic thing. And then number three would be that's a tough one. I think I would take it way back I mentioned it earlier, to the Beatles' Hard Day's Night album. That
Nice.
was the Yeah, that was the first album that I owned, the LP, the actual vinyl record. And I love every song off that. And that's the first, like I remember listening to that at 5, 6 years old and wanting to play a guitar, wanting to play the drums, wanting to play music, you know. So I can listen to that album over and over and over again. And I'm sure there's 30 other ones that just aren't popping into my head at the moment. But yeah, those three for sure I could listen to endlessly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the yeah, no, it's hard to pick free. It's like, but you have to do it. So
Sure.
Lee, what's next for you? Are there more shows coming, more music?
I don't have anything booked just yet. There is a whole new LP already written, or an EP. I have at least an EP's worth of new material with some other material that's probably going to end up. Hopefully, I don't know. I might be speaking a little too soon, but I want to maybe do a full length in the next year and a half. But at least an EP. I'm going to look to release another single in the next 3 months, maybe 4 months, and I want to get a complete unit of the same musicians and book a string of shows, at least a small Florida tour, maybe hop down to South America for a couple of shows. But with a full band, I want to do the unplugged thing again, but I want to play with the full band as well. So I want to get the right guys and make sure everybody's committed and get the studio and just rehearse, and get to where we need to be and go out and play. That's one of the best things for me. To be able to do. So yeah, there's a lot more Lee Daniel coming out for sure.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned unplug. I don't know if you remember when MTV did the unplugs that they say if you can't play unplug, you can't play.
I agree with that, and I felt that the other night a bit, you know. And the fact that it went over pretty well, like you don't want to abuse your audience too much. So I kept it to 6 songs and got asked for an encore, and I actually played Hell's Bells unplugged as the encore.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it went over really well. Like it's just a song that I know. Like and again, like I didn't really think about it. I'm just like I'm
A
gonna play
great
Hell's
album
Bells.
opener.
Oh yeah. No, the best. I mean, that's another album I could take to the island for sure. But I didn't want to be that cliche and be like, oh, Back in Black or Destruction, or though I'd take those as well, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it felt really good to be able to do that, and I want to do that more too. The 12 string, it's a lot of fun, but the full band aspect is great if it's good, you know.
No, of course. So where can people follow you? I know there's a social, but you also have like your own a web page, and there's the Bandcamp. Can you let people know, where they can stream and buy the music besides Bandcamp?
Yeah, we're all over Spotify, Apple Music, where else? Bandcamp, as you mentioned, of SoundCloud, social wise, of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all this shit that I fucking hate. I can't fucking.
Oh my
It's
God.
released now. It's so bad, man. It's so bad. Like, and I love everybody that supports me and gives me love, and I give them love back, and it's a huge bit. But just the daily stories and the bullshit and
Oh,
and taking out the bots, and
yeah. You
it
know that I
is fucking
opened a
annoying.
TikTok for the channel because my sister's younger. She's like, you need to open TikTok. I'm like, why? It's stupid. And
I
I
was
opened TikTok and I started like posting clips of interviews. I didn't get more subscribers. You know what I did? I went to the YouTube short stories, and that way, the people that look at that subscribe because they're looking at the YouTube. So, I'm like, that makes more sense. But sometimes
yeah.
it hurts. I do like an interview. I prepare. It's long. It's great, and I get less people seeing it. And I do a 15-second video saying that it's an anniversary, and I get thousands. Something that I have to think about. I'm like, oh, damn it. But this
That's
generation,
just
it's the attention span.
That's exactly right, and it's something that's hard for you and me to really wrap our heads around because we grew up in a different time, and I feel guys like you and me are very flexible because we're learning how to navigate all this, but it's not our natural platform, you know. But we're
No,
doing it, man. We're out here doing it, you know.
we come from a time where, for me, like right now, it's all about like a single. But I remember in the '90s, it was all about Foxy. I like the album
I
experience.
do too. I do
Like
too.
even back, like there were like if you pick, you can name name an album from the 90s, and you can say that the album is good all around. Like Pearl Jam 10, there's not a bad song in there. Nirvana, Nevermind, no bad
And never
song.
mind, right? That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
It's very hard to pick an album from the 90s and say that there's a bad song, because I think artists cared more about that than to have like the whole album experience. And I still like it. If a single's good, yeah, but like, what's so good at having like two great singles if the eight rest songs are pure shit?
exactly. No, you hit a great point. I agree with you. And again, that's from our generation. But the album tells a story.
Yeah.
The album should be enjoyed as. And I miss the cover art. I miss reading the lyrics. I miss all of that because it was such an experience.
Yeah, no, the
And
other day I did a video about the anniversary of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and that turned
I
27.
remember when
And
that came out. Yeah.
that's a double album. Like, that's unheard of now. Like
Oh yeah.
imagine telling like a 12-year-old, like, oh, listen to this album. It's like 2.5 hours. They're like, "Be fuck that. I have
Yeah.
I need to do other stuff." Like, people don't have that attention span, but it's so great, those albums. Like, that's why they're timeless. There's still great music now, but you gotta get out of the mainstream. You gotta dig hard, because there is. But yeah, people, some you gotta search it, but there is great music out there. Just people that need to discover it.
That's what it is. And these communities and this kind of interaction and again, social media, as much as we don't like it, like that's kind of the vehicle to that end. It's there if you want it. There's a million, as you know better than I do, I'm sure, just countless incredible musicians that play in their bedroom or play small shows or whatever. And I think there's so much merit in supporting those artists, and even just reaching out and just giving an encouraging word, because there's so much hate, man. Like I see that all the time just with my stuff. Like there's a lot of beautiful people that say beautiful things, but every once
Oh
in a
yeah.
while somebody will say something just like fucked up, and you're just like, damn, dude,
Yeah,
like that
like
sucks.
I also review albums, but when I say an album I didn't like it, I specify why, and not just
Oh,
saying it sucks because of the sake that it sucks. You gotta be like, and also when it's a band that you love, like, you gotta because sometimes you'll be like, oh no, it's good, but you have to be subjective. But yeah, don't be like, there's, oh my god, there's people like, if you're making YouTube videos, you have to take the some comments with a grain of salt, because you get some weird comments sometimes. I'm sure you, as a musician, sometimes you get like, I post something, like, you can like, I can post like, these are my top 5 albums, and they're like, oh, you posted this album about this. This list is invalid. I'm like, it's my fucking taste. Like, why is it
yes,
invalid?
yeah, fuck you. But that's just it. That people don't even realize what the context is, and they're already on you. It's
Yeah,
fucking
music
crazy.
is subjective. Like, what is my favorite album, or what I like may not be your favorite album, and vice versa. Like, it's subjective. Uh,
Well,
yeah, so
yeah,
and but the funny, like I the last Muse album was pretty bad, and I did a review saying it was bad, and people are like, this is the best thing. I'm like, you have a song in there called "You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween." I'm like, come on, dude. like like
you can do a little better than that, right? You'd
yeah,
you'd think.
yeah,
I think just like you're saying, like you don't have to be positive about everything as long as you're subjective about what you feel or you find poorly written or poorly executed about an album. You have all the license in the world to
yeah,
say what you feel. But what I don't like is when it's, especially when it's based on physical attributes, like, oh, what's wrong with his face, or like with a girl, like, oh, like what's like, it's like, dude, like meanwhile, like you're some loser that's never done fucking anything.
yeah. I think if you're judging, oh, because the person's ugly or not attractive, someone doesn't have to do anything with the music. Like, remember
Right.
when Adele came out, she got criticized because she was overweight, and I'm like, but listen to her fucking voice.
Now we have
Like
Lizzo.
now you have what?
Lizzo, the big girl that comes out in the very revealing clothes with the flute or whatnot.
Oh, I haven't heard her music, but I think I've seen. Yeah, so yeah, it's just
That
it's
door's
stupid.
been open.
Yeah, but yeah, people would complain Also, if like they stray too much from their sound or they incorporate things, it's subjective. You just gotta listen to it. And also people like, yeah, they there's a lot of like criticizing, like, oh, how dare you, like if you make like one tiny error on a video, oh my god, they'll let you know. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
for
this social,
sure.
the thing about social media is that it's made people that would never say stuff to your face say it. Back then in the 90s, kids, we said stuff to our face. And if you didn't like it, we hit each other. And
Oh
after
yeah,
that,
for
we would
sure.
say, you know, bro, I love you, have a beer, and then that would be it. So yeah, uh, that's the difference between the generations. So, but Lee, it was super fun, talking to you about the EP. And here we had like there was people with like two old guys shouting at the wind,
That's fine. I'll take
complaining.
that any day. No,
Yeah,
that's yeah, like shaking your fist at the clouds, you know. But I would do it anytime. I really appreciate you having me and taking the time to listen to my music and to comment on it. And I appreciate you tremendously. And I hope to do this again sometime. Thank you so much for
nice.
taking the
No,
time
yeah,
to share
we
with
can
me. Yeah.
do. We can collaborate and talk more music anytime. So people, stream Lee Daniels EP. Uh, it's in Spotify. If you're a cheapskate, it's there free. If you want to pay for it, then pay for it. If not, you can stream it. It's only a 22-minute song EP, so you can after that go and do whatever you want to do. So it's 22 minutes of your time. But yeah, if you like classic rock without like modern like crazy effects or dubstep, you will like this. So Lee, I hope you have a great night, and uh, hope you get more shows coming up soon. And people, stream Lee Daniel. I'm gonna show here's the on Bandcamp. Here's the picture, and you can stream it, get it, and support like independent artists, because it takes a lot to be an independent artist and put out shit. It's expensive. It's
Yeah,
like
man, it's a passion.
yeah, it's like
You
people
have to do it for.
I'm doing YouTube because I love music. I'm not getting paid for this right now, so please subscribe. I want to get to 500 subscribers so I can get that fucking community tab, and I can put polls and shit for you guys.
Fucking right. Yeah,
Yeah, so
subscribe,
Lee,
subscribe, everybody.
subscribe. So
Yes.
until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank
Thank
you
you, Hector.
and good fucking night.